between them both. So the longest line is what this next project is called. And you will use this on one sheet of sketch paper. And it's kind of therapeutic in a sense where you literally are kind of basically making your own coloring page. And there's a technique to it. And I will teach you that in a second. But the whole point of this part of our project is really hitting home about shapes. And sometimes people are like, what is the meaning to this madness? Couple of things, like when you are practicing, for instance, with the colored pencil technique, and you had all those circles and squares, practice makes better. And it's just kind of like in basketball, like how many times, if you play basketball, do you practice layups? How many times do you practice free throws? I know some people who do 100 free throws a day. It's repetitive because the practice makes better. So that's why sometimes in art, it's the same thing. If it seems repetitive, it's because we're practicing to become better at a certain technique or style or what have you. Does somebody have a question? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay. This particular artist here, Henry Matisse, a lot of you may have heard of him in like elementary school, or created artwork based on him because he does a lot of paper cutting and a collaging. So cutting out paper and putting it together. And he deals with tons of organic and geometric shapes. Organic shapes, the best way for me to define that for you is going to be a shape without a name. So like these crazy shapes, you could put names to them because they kind of look like coral to me, but a coral shape, like a sea coral shape, would be organic. A lot of shapes in nature are organic. Geometric, if you think math. So if you also think like shapes, the first shapes you learn as kids, like triangles, squares, rectangles, circles, if they have a name, like a mathematical name, it's considered geometric. So like geometry, geometric shape. So those are the best ways to kind of decide between the two or decipher between the two. Rex Ray is another artist. He's extremely famous for he also does paintings or painted paper and collage of geometric and organic shapes. So he mixes them together and he creates very like nature abstract scenes with his shapes. Shapes are really important in art. It's actually one of the 7 elements is shapes. I was going to make you watch this, and now that I think about it, I'm not going to. It's there. It's there if you really are interested in diving into shapes, but just for like purposes right now of understanding, y'all can see the difference here between geometric and organic. I think it's also very self-explanatory just by even looking at the differences, not just understanding the names. Like a puzzle piece would actually be an organic shape. Even though it has a name, it's because we associate it with a puzzle, but those shapes, like we don't have different names for them. It's just a puzzle piece. They all have, like, you know what I'm saying? So those are organic shapes. So this whole point of this project is to be able to create the 2 different types of shapes. Now, the steps in here are written. I'm going to tell you, and there's a video. And it's actually quite simple. And again, it's pretty therapeutic. I would start with a dark Sharpie because you do not want to have to outline your pencil lines. I feel like that's a waste of your time if you start with a pencil and then have to outline it. So I would just straight up start with a dark Sharpie. You do not have to use black. You can use any color you want. I do not care. The whole point is to start in the background. I'm going to push play on this and make sure it's muted. Yep. Okay. So you're going to start on a plain piece of white paper. You might want to take it out of your sketchbook, and you're going to start in one corner. It'll show you here. And you're going to work your way across your paper. Now, you do want it to be as like pretty close together. You also can add like crazy types of things in there. You'll see like an arrow, I think she draws an arrow. You do not want your line to cross though at all. So that's kind of the whole point is you start in the corner and you make your way. It's kind of like getting ready to make a maze, if that makes sense. Like if you've ever made a maze on a piece of paper, it's kind of like what you're doing because you essentially should be able to go through the whole thing without hitting any like dead ends. So that kind of looks like a bunny to me. It's kind of funny. But she's going to go up and down her whole paper and you're going to kind of see she comes across, she's got arrows in there. And the more intricate and like close together your stuff is, like the more interesting it'll look when you color it. So that's how you start it. Then you are going to decide, you do need to show geometric and organic shapes. So you need to show both. Now, when you're doing your geometric shapes, like circles, squares, triangles, they need to be done correctly. So for instance, you can see she has something that she's tracing circular. Please make sure they're full circles. Please make sure that like you're using a ruler for a triangle or a rectangle or a square. Your organic shapes can be shaped however you want. So you're going to draw right on top. Notice once she drew the circle, she's now outlining it so she can see it. Okay, so she's got her circle that she's outlining. And you want those shapes right on top. You can see them there as they're coming through. The only coloring you need to do is inside the shapes. So the background will stay black and white, or red and white, or green and white, whatever color you choose. You want a dark color though. And inside the shapes is where the color will go. So you'll color inside. And then it will start to pop. So it will look like, you can see there, it'll look like these. These are some examples from students. Some students changed up their colors and their color schemes. Some stuck with the same on their project. It's completely up to you, but you need to show both. So you can see, it's like this student actually only showed geometric, but they're really cool. Notice here, organic, organic, geo, geo, geo. Okay, so you want to show both. This student has 3 organic, 3 geometric, 2 organic. Here are some more. Notice a heart. A heart would be considered organic. This one is beautiful. I love organic shapes. They're super funky. I love the coloring here. But notice the background. The more intricate it is, the more interesting your coloring will be. 3 to 5 shapes or more is what I'm looking for, but at least 3. And if you have 3, like this student, at least 1 needs to either be organic or geometric. So she has 1 organic, 1 organic. Does that make sense to everybody what I'm looking for? And this is all done in Sharpie. And again, there's that video is on slide 7, and then the drawing is on slide 8 to kind of show you start in one end and end in the other. And the more like crazy you do your lines, again, the cooler your coloring will be. Is this making sense to everybody how this works, the longest line?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're obviously filling your page. You can see here the students' holes in their paper. So you're filling the page, but you're doing it in a very different manner. And I don't care what direction your page goes. This one even did numbers and a cloud and diamonds. I love this one too. But that is our next step of this unit to get us ready for our geometric organic cover design project. Does anyone have questions? No? Okay, so you can right now